Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity. We just want to invite you to come in the presence of this room and leave the world outside and the snow outside and bask in this holy space. Take this hour for yourself to remember the truth of your beautiful beings and the heart that resides within you. And just to connect with that heartbeat, connecting with Mother Earth, and recognizing that we're all connected in this room and that we are all one part of this incredible vibration that spirit flows in and through all that we do. And that today is a day for healing in whatever way is being called in your hearts. We start the meditation service with chanting. And Norma and I will chant, and then Larry and Louie will respond, and you're welcome to respond with them, or you can just close your eyes and let the music move in and through you. But they say to sing is to pray twice. So if you really want to just sing some prayers into your cell body, into every aspect of what you are, turning your chakras on and getting them to be all cleared out and getting your aura clear so that you have better insights towards the things that may be limiting or difficult in your life right now.
If you like to sit in lotus position, we have pillows in the very front that has a back support by the seat. So you're welcome to do that.
Lotus sitting on the water, beyond time and space. This is your way. This is your grace. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Now it's your turn. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Coming home to the light within. Coming home to the light within. light within. Coming home to the light within. Coming home to the light within. Breath of life, I bow to you. Breath of light, I bow to you. Breath of life, I bow to you. Coming home 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 to you.
Before we begin, once again, I ask for a couple of volunteers to come up after the service and help clear this altar in preparation for our next service. It's very appreciated. Well, we are deep into the holiday seasons. And that brought to mind this Christmas carol, this one line in a Christmas song. "'Tis the season to be jolly." It's not my favorite song. It's not my favorite line. But it's supposed to cheer you up. It's a bright Christmas song. But it's also, as most of you already know, the season to be stressful. I walked into the supermarket the other day, and I saw a guy. He was trying to get one of the carts out of the stack of carts there, shopping carts, and it got stuck on the one in front of it, and he just couldn't get it loose, and he was kicking it and then banging it against the railing this way and that way, and he couldn't get the cart out. Finally, he just pulled it out, threw it over sideways on the floor, and walked out. And that was the extent of his holiday shopping. So, as many psychologists and mental health practitioners have shared in their research, that around the holiday season, there's a tremendous amount of stress in people. So I thought I'd approach that issue, because stress is, for the most part, a matter of limited choosing, limited perception, limited mindset. When you look at the idea, just the word holiday, if you look it up in Webster's dictionary, the first definition of it is holy day. So it goes on to say it's a day where we are not required to work, we're free, and we then celebrate. And in some cases, we celebrate the birth of the Prince of Peace. But what the illusion-driven consciousness of our culture has done has turned it into a madness of materiality. And so far from the idea of true peace or mystical peace. So Holy Day is really supposed to represent, to some degree, happiness and joy and freedom to do, wonderful things. But there's just so much going on in, the world of materiality, and, the sales and things that are set up, and the advertisements and the music playing in the stores over and over again. I think it just is very difficult to sustain a consciousness of peace. Yet, that is what mastery is all about. So we can actually use the holiday seasons to test our mastery, to see if we actually can sustain that consciousness of peace in all that we are doing and all the tasks that we are accomplishing in our lives, and especially in relationship to many people and visiting people and even strangers in our pathway. To be able to sustain the consciousness of peace is to be able to sustain the attribute of divine consciousness. The measure of one's divine consciousness is measured by the ability to have peace regardless of conditions, people, or circumstances. And that doesn't preclude the idea of shopping or going out and celebrating or having parties. It doesn't. What it does is it gives you a focus and lets you know what is truly valuable in all of this. And while you have these secondary values, exchanging gifts and having fun and going to, exciting parties and stuff, to lose touch with what really is valuable, which makes you feel good, is this mastery, this mindfulness, to sustain peace of mind and not to get, strung out in the insanity of the world. That is why the masters are always speaking about the world and the consciousness of the world in which everyone initially is born, raised, and educated, that consciousness must be transcended, because it is based upon an illusionary definition of life, which we attempt to make reality. But that illusionary definition of life is based upon the illusion of separation. Most people don't realize that peace is a choice. That peace can be a focused goal in his or her life. They simply live in relationship to circumstances, and when circumstances are meeting their personal expectations and desires, they have a modicum of peace. But when those circumstances are not meeting their expectations and their desires, then they are thrown into stress, and they're thrown into anxiety. And so this is what we are in the process of transcending. The stress and the anxiety of the false definition of life. And that's what our spiritual work is all about. And by the way, this is all that the masters are ever speaking to us about. So it's wise for us to listen to them. And here's a story that speaks very clearly to the human dilemma and its solution. So let's take a look at this first PowerPoint from this master of life. You can read this in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verses 38 to 40. Now as they, that's the disciples and Jesus, went on their way, he, Jesus, entered a village. A woman named Martha received him into her house, and she had a sister named Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teachings. But Martha was distracted with much serving, and she went to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me. This is an interesting idea, but it speaks to the initial state of consciousness that we shared from birth of separation. And that from that state of consciousness in mind, we are ever attempting to get circumstances under control. And whatever it is required of us, we keep trying to get circumstances to be under control. And if we get them under control and get the people under control, then we may have that period of peace that we're looking for. But that's not mastery. That's not anywhere near mastery, because circumstances are arbitrary. And to control circumstances is beyond the ability of any particular human being. What we can do is we can transcend that illusionary definition of life that I should be able to control circumstances. I should be smart enough, strong enough, cunning enough to be able to make things happen the way I'd like to see them happen all the time. But it doesn't take very many years of living to realize that's not something we can accomplish. Surely we attempt to make things happen in the best possible way, but we come to understand that outcomes are not in our control. We can do many things to say, well, if we do these things right, it seems that the circumstances would, bring about what it is we're looking to accomplish. But that's not true. And it comes to that saying, the best made plans of mice and men often go astray. And that's what we're dealing with almost all the time. So in order to have a state of mind in which we are happy and at peace, we have to transcend the idea of being able to control circumstances and bring them into our personal desires and demands. So in relationship to this Martha, we have the response from the Master of Life. Can we have this back up there again, the second one? Second PowerPoint. But the Lord answered Martha, 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 you are anxious and troubled about many things. One thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which shall not be taken away from her. Here we have Mary's choice to sit at the feet of the Master. And of course, it sounds very wonderful, historically speaking, but these Bible writers are not interested in telling you historic events like this, of which have no bearing upon how you conduct your life. All of these stories are about human awareness. And here we have a story that is revealing to us that there's a necessity to sit at the feet of the divine consciousness, which is Christ in you, or the Buddha nature, to pause in the intelligence of God enough to know you want to carry that awareness with you into everything you do, so that you're not distracted and you're not driven and you're not thrown this way and that way by the changing tides of circumstance. It's a very simple and powerful message. But in order to understand it, if you want to understand the scripture, you have to collapse time. These scriptures were not written from a historic perspective. They start off, it's almost like saying once upon a time. You see these stories, they just begin, they have, because they're parables. The entire thing is about the transformation in one's own consciousness from someone who is driven by the initial illusionary idea of life. And all we have to do to understand that is to look outside ourselves and see the world on the 6 o'clock news and understand it doesn't make for happiness. It never will make for full happiness, because happiness without peace of mind is not possible. One has to feel peace within oneself, and when you feel that peace, you know that you are in line with the intelligence of life. You're in line with the will of God. People say, well, I want to know what to do, how I can do the will of God, because the Bible is so focused on the idea of doing God's will. Well, that's it. To do God's will, one must begin to surrender the illusionary, dominating concept of gaining personal control instead of, and this is the word you should take with you, allowing. Just learn to how allow conditions and circumstances, how to flow with the conditions and circumstances, whether they seem to be going in accord with your consciousness and desires, or whether they're not. But if you have that state of mind where you know you are divinely guided and you're in that awareness, insight comes. What's missing in the entire world and what's going out of the world at a huge rate is intuition. People are afraid they don't have the ability to make decisions, so they try to decide from authority figures. People themselves who have no intuition, or many cases don't have intuition. Some authority figures do have intuition, but so many of them don't. And you can't fashion your life from book learning. Can you imagine how amazing the world would be and how things would change even on the political surface of life? How they would change if people hearkened back to ask themselves a question about some policy or some condition or circumstance that was being tallied or brought forth. If they were able to stop and say, does this feel right to me? Does this feel right? Could this be right? Could this be what would make for peace and harmony and healing? And you'd be surprised. I mean, you people here, I suspect many of you do that. But if you look at the world, you know that the majority of people don't do that. They simply react because they don't have that connection. They're not in touch with, through spiritual practice, they're not in touch with truly feeling good. So they hardly ever feel God. And that's what this whole journey is about here in the world. If you want some help in doing this, you need to carry a spiritual thought with you. Not necessarily an affirmation, sometimes it's a question. As you're going about your holiday shopping and your holiday life, when you have a condition arising that is out of keeping with what feels comfortable, harmonious, or even peaceful, you can stop and know one thing. You can be at peace right here, right now, right where you are. You're not required to react, to force some kind of outcome. And the most important thing that you can do is ask the question within yourself, what would bring peace now? And the answer almost always is, be at peace yourself. You'd be surprised how loud that gets when you say, what would bring peace here? And you'll hear it. Be at peace yourself. Be at peace yourself. Because this is true and will never not be true. Can we have this next PowerPoint, please? You can read this in the Course in Miracles text 533 in the old text, in the new 575. In quietness are all things answered, and is every problem quietly resolved. In conflict there can be no answer and no resolution possible. And to be sure, no answer will be plain. Yet if God gave an answer, there must be a way in which your problems are resolved. For what He wills has been done. Thus, it must be that time is not involved, and every problem can be answered now. Yet it must be that in your state of mind, solution is impossible. Therefore, God must have given you a way of reaching to another state of mind, in which the answer is already there. Such is the holy instant. Can we take this back again, please, Heather? In quietness are all things answered, and is every problem quietly resolved. In conflict there can be no answer, and no resolution possible. And this is missing a line in this. and I'm not going to go to pieces over it. Answer, and no resolution possible. The line missing is, for what would be an answer from one point of view is not an answer from another point of view. Yet, if God gave an answer, there must be a way in which your problems are resolved. For what He wills has been done. Thus, it must be that time is not involved and every problem can be answered now. You can enter the divine consciousness in any given moment. Yet, it must also be that in your present state of mind, solution is impossible. In the world thinking, in the illusionary concept of life, it is impossible for there to be any solution. Therefore, God must have given you a way of reaching to another state of mind in which the answer is already there. Such is the holy instant. And as the Course will go on to say, the holy instant is this instant and every instant. The instant you want it to be, it is. The instant you would rather not have it be, is lost to you. Beyond the past and the future, where you will not find it, it stands in every amazing moment available to you to choose peace, to choose God consciousness. Some of you got a little handout this morning, and I'm trying to look for it here. But the idea is short enough for you to take it with you. I believe it says, know, just know that peace is here and now, and only everywhere else that I bring it. Peace is here and now, and only everywhere else that I bring it. We will take some time to withdraw from the thinking of the world, to relax, and sometimes the best meditation you can have is just sitting still and knowing that just where you are, as you are beloved by the universe. Given permission to reflect upon your thinking and your actions so that you ultimately will choose the divine in the process of living. So you're okay and you're beloved. And just allow yourself to be there in this moment. If you don't have a particular meditation technique, you can use this particular idea. There is only one everything, only one in you, in me, in everything we see. There is only one, only God. as we go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space. Let us go forth with a greater determination to carry peace into our lives, into our world. For this opportunity in every moment, we give thanks. To this, we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. As we're preparing to do that, some of you got that little handout. Peace is always here and now, and every place that I bring it. Take that with you today. As we take our offerings in our hands, let's bless this offering from a perspective of knowing that unity exists in a world that is called to peace. And its purpose and its goal rests in each one of us acknowledging that principle that we are divine in origin and are becoming divine in expression. So let that thought carry your gift into the world, and bless this offering with this offering statement. Divine love is my true life and my conscious destiny. Therefore, I give. Together, please. Divine love is my true life and my conscious destiny. Therefore, I give.